Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. NATO finally uh, named Russia the main threat of the alliance, something that they finally acknowledge or at least put it in writing and let us all know about that. This was actually disinformation, or not disinformation, but this was valid for about, I would say, 2005 or 6. And I will tell you why. This article comes from Business Insider from today, June 29th, 2022. And it says that NATO will demote Russia from strategic partner, never been, to the bloc's main threat. So maybe the strategic partner was between 1991 and 1999, when Russia was the whore of NATO and some Western countries, when they could do whatever they want with her. Now, actually not now, but in 2008, actually prior to that, it was I think it was 2008 when it was the meeting in Munich, when Putin was invited and he had a little speech over there, and everybody was, what? That was the big sign that Russia will not follow orders, and it has a mood. And then it was the NATO summit in Romania and Bucharest, I think in 2008 as well, where again Russia said, you know what, not really, we're not going to follow the script. So then things changed, in my assessment. But let's see what this article says. So NATO will identify Russia as its main threat. The bloc previously called Russia a strategic partner. It was never a partner, at least from 2000, as I said, 5, 6, when it was not a partner. And it was important to have a relationship with. It was, and I think it still is, unless now you're going to have a main threat, because, yeah, it was pushed in a corner. That's my assessment of all that. And how was it put? How was Russia put in a corner? By expanding NATO towards its border, just like that. And then eventually in Romania, they said that they would like to have, I think, Ukraine and Georgia being members of NATO. And then Russia said, yeah, okay, that's too much. All right, so it says here that NATO's chief said Wednesday will state clearly that Russia poses a direct threat to our security. Yeah, you know how that is? It's like you stay at home and you look, outside, and you see a guy with like some weapons, carrying some weapons approaching. He's on the street, parked his car, walks across the lawn, comes in front of your car. He is on your deck, and then you get your weapon, get outside, and confront him. And I say, hey, you, Emil, are my most, my main threat. You pose a direct threat to my security. That guy who lives, who knows in what neighborhood, he drove his car here in front of my house, walked across my front yard, jumped on my deck or my porch, almost to get inside my house. I confront him at the door. He goes back a little bit and say, hey, you are my main threat now. You attacked me. You are my main my main threat, my strategic partner, no more, right? A direct threat to his security. This is why it was. Russia did not go to that guy. That guy came close. If we assume that that guy had peaceful intentions, and we are so naive to believe that, then yes. But what is that guy doing next to me? Just to say hi with arms, with weapons up? And why do I consider those weapons out? It's because United States, NATO, my bad, placed rocket systems, defensive air defense systems in Romania and Poland. Now, there's a little globe here. I'm assuming you can have an app if you don't have a map. And look where Romania is, where Poland is, and where Russia is. And look back and see where Berlin is. And then you draw a line like this in Europe, and from Berlin west, it was the Western countries, And from there, so NATO, and from the other side was the Warsaw Pact, which dissolved. So then you from Berlin, north-south approximately, you see how much it advanced towards Romania and Poland and Baltic states, and now they wanted to Ukraine. Okay, and then you go down Bulgaria, and then you go down and you see Turkey, which was a member a long time ago and still is one of the first ones actually, but nevertheless. And you tell me if all this was just a peaceful advancement and expansion. So who came to whom? And not with beautiful intentions. Remember, those systems were not in Romania and Poland are not against, as they say, Iran hitting Europe. Okay, not. I mean, look on the map and you tell me if Poland will be shot from Iran. You know, if the rocket goes like this, yeah, could be Poland, but nevertheless, it could go like that, but nevertheless. So you see, the thing with now is a threat, a safety threat, a strategic threat, a main threat. That's just BS. But nevertheless, NATO will stop viewing Russia as a strategic partner, as I said, and instead identify it as a bloc's main threat, Spanish Prime Minister said on Wednesday. So NATO is currently holding a summit in Madrid, Spain, which means Sanchez, which is the Pedro Sanchez, he's the Prime Minister of Spain or something. There's a guy, Pedro Sanchez. All right, this guy said that, I can find him here. Where the hell is this Pedro? Prime Minister, Spain Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez. Yeah, he said that Sanchez is the host of this NATO summit in Madrid in Spain. He's just someone over there, just the Prime Minister. Okay, good for you. So nevertheless, it says here the Euro-Atlantic partners and said NATO-Russian cooperation is of strategic importance as it contributes to creating a common space of peace, stability, and security. But then Stoltenberg echoed Sanchez when speaking to reporters on Wednesday, saying, "Will state clearly that Russia poses a direct threat to our security." I wonder why. So then they go back here at the end of the article, trying to cover and starting their history. This is what they do. They start with 2014 with Crimea. So they start from there. It's picking and choosing. They ignore what was before Crimea. They ignore what happened in the Donbass, Lugansk regions. They ignore with the overthrow, military overthrow, fighting overthrow, bloody overthrow over the legitimate Ukrainian government in 2014 with the help of the Western services. They forget about the Minsk agreements between Ukraine and two regions over there on the east of Ukraine. They forget about make it illegal to have radios in radio stations in Russian, and school change the curriculum in Ukraine, then send forces over there to. They ignore all that. They ignore the NATO expansion. They ignore that. They ignore the placement of missiles in Romania and Poland. They start from Crimea. Why? Because that's where it is convenient. And even if we start from Crimea had a referendum. Democratically choose, people over there, about 98%, choose to be independent out of Ukraine and be part of Russia. People's, free association, correct? And free determination. That's a United Nations Charter. What do you want? So, nevertheless, even if we go to that, and then if you compare that with Kosovo, then we really go into deep doo-doo. So, main threat, Russia. We knew that. It was just now they tell us. But they try to make it like Russia is the one who actually is the aggressor here because he got a problem with Ukraine because of NATO. But nevertheless, it's just... Thank you for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.